Hey, everybody, welcome to UGASports Live. My name is Rodney DeBulsey, and I am joined by the former Georgia Bulldogs head coach, Jim Donnan. The reason you were all tuned in. We appreciate having Coach Donnan back. And of course, we are joined by Dane Young, as usual, who pushes all the buttons, runs all our commercials, and asks us good questions, and is an integral part of UGA Sports Live. And the reason we don't fall off the internet every day is thanks to Dane. Coach, glad to have you back. I know you've been kind of beat up a little bit, and I was out of town for a couple of weeks, and then it's good to be back. The Bulldogs start here in a couple of days, and you're looking good. I love the shades.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back, but I think rather than BS people and talk about how good I'm feeling or anything like that, I have had a setback. Certainly not life threatening, but an issue with my immune system, which has caused me some problems with my vision. But I've got some good doctors. They're doing a good job with me, and I'm on the road to recovery. But we'll just have to see. But everybody's got to put up with me with these glasses because I don't think they want to see looking at the old coach with a droopy eyelid and all that. But certainly makes you thankful for your health. And I've been blessed with a tremendous life and tremendous family. And I've enjoyed these last few years working with you guys. So every day is a blessing, and let's just push forward.
It really is. You're 31 for me covering the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm just as excited. Kirby Smart was asked, it's year 9 for you. How do you stay excited? He said, I love being on the field with my players. And somebody asked me, hey, you've done this 3 decades. Does it get old? I'm like, sometimes breaking bad news gets old. You don't like to be the harbinger of doom, but breaking good news and talking, who's going to be a star. To me, I'm at the apex of my career because I'm covering a team that's just phenomenal. This team is loaded. They're going to have a great season this year. But, Coach, you always kind of pull me back. Either I'm too dour and you make fun of me for being Mr. Negativity, or I'm too optimistic, because I think that they're going to beat everybody. I would like your annual 30,000-foot view of this Georgia football team in the 2024 season. You've nailed it. The last 5 years we've done this. I remember 3 years ago you said, hey, this is a great team. Secondary's got something to work on. Last year you said, hey, the defensive line, there's some issues there. 4 years ago, you're like, we got to work on the offensive line. You've always known where I won't say weaknesses are, but where they need to get better. And then you would tell us these guys are great. So let me get your overall view of where the Bulldogs are this year, heading into practice starting in 48 hours.
Well, I missed it last year. I thought we were going to run the table. We came really close, had one bad quarter. But just from an overview, from my perspective, this is what it's all about for a coach is to plan and work your team and get them ready for the fall. And the next few weeks is when you really put it all together. You add the new freshmen that came in the summertime, and then the ones that are already on campus, and also some new transfer guys. I mean, I don't think we've ever had even close to amount of transfer guys. I think 9 on scholarship and 2. I don't know what the place kicker from Duke is, and the deep snapper from UCLA. I don't know if they're on the NIL or what, but actually 11 new guys that are came from other programs. So that's a pretty good influx. But just from an overview and being as realistic, pessimistic, optimistic, whatever you want to be, I feel like that. I wouldn't trade our team with anybody in the country as far as just returning players, having a really good quarterback, staff retention, and also staff additions. Some big additions to our staff to help give some new infusion, new ideas. And overall, schedule-wise, maybe a little tougher because of the road games we got. But at the same time, both Texas and Alabama got some issues with a new coach, and Texas losing a lot of players. Ole Miss got a lot back, but at the same time, they're counting on a tremendous amount of transfers. But as far as the issues for me, I would say the secondary, just because of the experience that you lost. I mean, 3 guys drafted to the NFL. Not many teams lose that many guys unless it's Alabama, who lost starting 2 corners and a star, and plus their great safety transferred to Ohio State. So whichever one of these teams makes their secondary better quicker probably has an edge. I think overall, our offensive line depth, our situation in running back worries me a little bit as far as just people that have experience in the system. But we got a big plus there getting ETN in, and hopefully, he'll be eligible to play in the first game. That's up to the what the legal thing said. But and then I think just going down each position, we're strong in receiver, tight end. We lost a great player, but got good depth there. Added Ursic from Stanford, wide receiver. Certainly, situation a little different now with Ra's deal. And I would say this: as bad as that sounds, don't be too quick to judge because there's two sides to every coin, and he certainly needs to be uh, checked on about all this. But I think some of this is not necessarily all him. Going on into the quarterback room, I've really been impressed. I mean, almost to the point of mouth watering the improvement that Gunnar Stockton's made from year one to now. His knowledge of the system, his confidence in himself, his ability to move around in the pocket, his ability to throw the ball down the field to check off really gives us an adequate backup that can come in and win games for us. The addition of Rashad is certainly going to put some competition there, and hopefully Brian is going to recover from his his leg situation. He's got a big arm, but the fact that Carson Beck is on our team to me is just an issue that makes it, if all things are equal, a big advantage because he knows what to do, and more than anything, he knows what not to do. He's very protective of the ball. He's very knowledgeable, and should have just a huge year. Defensively, I told you, Roddy and Dane, off the air, that I feel like our defense is going to be better overall just because of some of the way we've moved position-wise, using Michael a little bit more off the edge. The depth we've got at linebacker is probably unmatched here. And the fact that sometimes you got so many good players that you're trying to get playing time for them that you don't play the best players all the time. But we've got really good linebackers that can run, can play in a phone booth, but can also spread out and play all the different myriad of offenses you got to go against. Safety-wise, with Malachi back, he's just a winner, a leader among the better players in the country. And hopefully the addition of Bolden and Pope and some of these other guys, not to mention the one kid coming back from his injury that was so good on special teams. I'm trying to think of his name. I don't have the list.
Dan Jackson.
Dan Jackson. First time I had to ask you a question. My memory's going down. But I really think secondary, even though we lost those three guys and a couple more, I just think the corner position is really, really competitive and really good skill set. Long, lean guys, just really going to be the kind that can let your defensive front put maybe a little more pressure with some added 5-6 man blitzes and play some more man coverage. But and then kicking game wise, got a great punter, great field goal and extra point guy. Hopefully this kickoff guy is going to be what we want. And we got good kick returners, guys working hard for that. It's competitive. I always felt like as a coach, when you run an offensive play, you run it thinking it's going to work instead of saying, well, what if they do this? What if they do that? And then defensively, when you call a defense, you can't worry about stopping everything, but they gotta move the ball on you. So I look at it, final jeopardy here, final thing here. My answer is, who's going to have anything more than we do? And they've got to come out and beat us. And that's the whole issue. We got to make teams beat us and not beat ourselves. So it should be a great year. I think it can be an outstanding year. Hopefully, injury-wise, we'll have the injury angel on our side. And I don't know what else I need to cover here except I'm excited about for Kirby the fact that he's been able to build this program in the image that he wanted. He should be a little bit more relaxed. He finally moved into his new house, so he's not having to worry about that. Not that he was, but he'll be fired up about that, and it'll be a great place to entertain recruits and be good for his kids too.
To that
Coach
point,
just
I was
coming
like,
out with that fastball, Roddy. Good Lord, the amount of info he just threw in there.
I'm ready to turn off the show. That was good, folks. We'll see you next week. Hey, he's done that every year. Every year we say, Coach, tell us, and he goes through the positions, and he's nailed it. He says he was off last year because he missed about one quarter. He said that they would be a clean sweep. They did sweep the regular season, and they lost one game.
2 years in a row, 24-0, and we haven't lost a home game since South Carolina. But the other thing, exciting situation down at the stadium with the new press box for the and the new seating, and just going to have an early home game at night. Here's the thing. I just want to caution everybody. Everybody talks about schedule and all that stuff, but hey, you go to see Georgia play. It's a lifetime experience now. It's probably not going to happen again in anybody's lifetime to have a team like this. Hopefully it'll keep on going, but the last 3 or 4 years are just utopia. And you talk about a schedule. How about next year's home schedule? You look at the teams that are going to be coming in next year. Wow. I mean, you got Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas. Wow, that's going to be unreal.
I was asked on a radio show recently, like, okay, what is Georgia football? And I'm like, well, championship caliber was my first thought, but they said, well, beyond the titles. I'm like, well, beyond the titles, it's deep. I said, you don't understand that they've got 4 cornerbacks. Now you're replacing Kamari Lasser. They got 4 guys over there who are lights out. Their inside linebackers are ridiculous. They've got 3 starting guards. You got 3 guys for 2 spots who can start anywhere in the SEC. It's be tough to find anybody better than Micah Morris, Tate Radledge, and Dylan Fairchild. And then, of course, Coach talks about some of the other guys that got coming up. Ernest Green, the mean people moving machine. And you got the Heisman Trophy front runner. So along those lines, I'm like, there's just spots on this Georgia team where they are so deep. And yes, they lost Amarius Mims last year in a game, and it kind of threw off the whole kilter of that contest and a turnover. But you can't just beat Georgia's starting 22. You got to beat Georgia's 44, 66. They've got so many guys who can step in. And that's where you've seen Georgia win games late in the season when other teams lose a guy. Alabama loses a couple wide receivers, Georgia wins. Ohio State loses some wide receiver, Georgia wins because they've got guys that step up and do it. And I think what you just said, Coach, summarizes the entire thing. They got to beat what you got, and you got more than they do. So don't beat yourself. And I could see them winning all their games based on that. Texas is great. Alabama's great. Ole Miss is going to be tough. Clemson's not going to be an easy game, but they got to beat what you got. And I'm with you. What do you think of the new coaches, though?
The new coaches here?
Yeah, Georgia. You got 2 on offense, 2 on defense.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Coley's background, but I do think Coley brings in some instant situation in the fact that he has a really good grasp of what the expectations are here and the workload and how to do things. Anytime you change jobs, you've got to, get in there and figure out what the boss wants and implement your ideas and all that. But he has a really good feel for working with Kirby and working within the system. Plus, he adds a tremendous wealth of knowledge about football, and you add his recruiting expertise, which is among the best in the country. Certainly, the new guy running back is going to have a learning curve there replacing a guy like Del McGee, but he's got some good guys to work with, and he knows the state. Having been a high school coach, T. Rob coming in here has instant knowledge of the Georgia / Alabama defensive system, and the fact that he's just coached it at Alabama. He worked with Muschamp for a long time, coaching it at South Carolina and Auburn and other places. This guy is a coach in waiting to be a head coach. He just got a lot of enthusiasm, really good knowledge, and of course Dante coming in from the West Coast, a little bit of adjustment. This is not L.A., but it is to me. It's a utopia town, so I'm sure his family's going to enjoy it. And he brings in the recruiting expertise too, and he'll definitely benefit. And this is the way I looked at it when I was assistant coach. You always pick up from your head coach different coaching techniques, philosophy, things like that. I know I coached with Bill Dooley at North Carolina. I had very limited knowledge of offensive line play as a quarterback and as a coaching backs and receivers. And the day-to-day input I got from him enhanced me down the road, where I knew what to ask offensive line coaches when we watched tape and watched their players. A lot better coach. The same thing with other people. Warren Powers out there at Missouri, his knowledge of defense, working at Nebraska under Monty Kiffin, learned a lot about defense from Warren Powers. And of course, Coach Switzer just learned about everything. But the thing you do here with Kirby and Muschamp there in the secondary is you've got the two guys. If you look about any place in the country and ask them who's the most knowledgeable secondary guys, anybody would say, if he named three people, two of them would be Kirby and Muschamp. So both these guys got them to lean on. And you also have Schumann, who knows the defense inside and out. So we've got a very good system in place, but it's difficult to learn it too. I mean, that's why you hear Kirby talking about these players coming in and they got to learn the system. I mean, the bottom line, they don't want to give you 1 inch. I mean, it bothers them when you get a yard. But they try to stop everything with every defense. Tremendous pride in the statistics, but obviously winning is the big one. But they got a lot of pride in the Georgia system and the fact that you're going to have to get out there and out execute them. That's why when you see second, third team guys go in and they make a big play or they score, how much it bothers the coaches on the sideline, because they know what the standards are. So, and they have to meet those standards in practice every day. These kids, I mean, I wish, if I could say one thing I wish we had when I was coaching, this GPS that they put on these kids every day. If you slack up 1 second, they know it. They got 3 people monitoring that. Of course, you watch them on the field, you can see, but you can't see 85 kids all the time. But you slack up 1 second, they come over there and tell Kirby, and I'm going to tell you, if they tell Kirby that you aren't going 100 miles an hour, then that's a wrath right there. So I think that GPS, one of the best things invented. And then another thing, which I used to use in practice, is the helmet communication. We just had a battery-powered earplug that I would call the play to the quarterback and also counsel him in what we were thinking about all the way to the line of scrimmage. And as the week went on, he didn't do it as much because you want him to have a little bit of independency there. But just the fact that you got that huddle situation now where you can tell the quarterback what to do up to 15 seconds before the clock stops, like the pros. And what that gives you, not only the fact that you can articulate that, but it also gives you a chance to maybe huddle a little more where you're not really showing your offensive formation. Like, our team comes out and they're waiting for the huddle, the signal from the sideline, and they're standing there. The defense sees the breakdown. Is it 3x1, 2x2, empty, whatever it is. So they got a good idea of what it can be. And certainly they know that by the personnel that's in the game. But if you've got regular people in the game, you can go to a lot of different formations. But this huddle communication is great. And then defensively, it's good because gives a guy like Schumann a chance to talk to defensive linebackers and say, look, tendency-wise, this is what they do on 2nd and 7 on the right hash against in this part of the field. And just percentage-wise, you're thinking about that, and then you react. Now, it's certainly a good communication tool.
I love it. Coach is a good communication tool, and he's wrapped it up pretty well there. We're going to have him do the watch-along show. So all his thoughts on the coaching staff, all his thoughts on the communication system, all his thoughts on all this other stuff, we will have it in the Georgia versus Clemson watch-along show. We do have some open sponsorship spots for that. So if you want to be a sponsor of the watch-along show or this show, let us know. We've got a couple spots there, so we'd love to have you.
I'm going to take up for Roddy on that because last year he bought all this new equipment to enhance our show and everything, including a new videos. And we ended up without enough sponsors, but we went ahead and did it. So hopefully I'm not going to put Roddy in the hole this year.
It's too much fun.
We don't need to have that happen. So if anybody, it's good exposure. I mean, sometimes we get 50, 75,000 views and then championship game, 100,000. So for what they have to pay. So I'm just putting you on mark here. If you want to do this, some of you need to do some recruiting because I'm not going to put Roddy out there to dry again.
Well, I think this will be the 6th season that we've done the watch along show. And Coach, you're right. As the schedule has these marquee games on there, man, we see the numbers that have come when Georgia's played Ohio State or even when Georgia played Cincinnati. Like they were above 100,000 views just on one platform and probably getting close to 250,000 between all the platforms. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
We also love our folks who support us, like Evan Grimes. He's a great member of our site. He supports all of our podcasts. Hey, Coach, he's got a $10 super chat here to ask you a question. He says,
that's not what I'm worth.
If you were competing in the Olympics, what event would you win gold in?
Well, my best shot would probably be badminton. Just because, I was all-world badminton player in college because I played tennis. But, I don't know. They don't have any senior Olympics, but
they should.
I would say ping pong or table tennis, I probably don't have the quickness I used to. But one of those two probably would be it.
In your prime?
In my prime, which one would I be?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe 3-on-3 basketball. I mean, have you watched that? That's really awesome. They got a 12-second shot clock. And when they used to throw it to me on 3-on-3, they never got it back because I put it up. I tell you, David Pollock should be in that 3-on-3. He's all-world basketball player. He's unreal. He's got his own gym and can run and jump. He needs to qualify for Olympics for that.
What are the events that you're watching? I mean, I know you watch some tennis because you and I are tennis fans, but what else are you watching with Olympics?
One of the best things that ever came out is Peacock because, I don't want to watch curling that's a Winter Olympics, but there's certain things they have on the big screen. So you got a chance to go Peacock and pick out the sports you want. I mean, I still like to watch gymnastics and swimming, but it's all delayed. But I like I like them all. I mean, who wouldn't like it? I mean, it's great.
If you watch the men clinch the bronze medal the other night in gymnastics,
happy for the men to finally get one again, and it'll be interesting to see women coming on here at 12:15. We're probably missing that.
Yeah, we need to get off that. We need to get off the air.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do. Just amazing the kind of athlete that Biles is, and certainly Suni Lee. I mean, what she's overcome with that, having that catastrophic illness right all last year to come back like this. And I always like kind of the human interest things that they do, to talk about people's how they train or what they do. And it was great to see Kirby do that FaceTime with that. Congratulations to our swimmer getting the silver. And Kirby, I guess Maria Taylor set it up. Kirby's good about that.
Yeah, he's pretty involved. So a good question from Evan Grimes. We always appreciate the super chats. We also appreciate the sponsors we do have, like our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. They have the second part of their paint and sip. It's a promotion that an event that they have over there. It's from July 24th and then August 4th at 8 p.m. You basically go out there and you pay your $30. You get a bunch of food, you get a bunch of drinks, and it's a painting class. It's really cool. They have a big facility over there in which you can do it. All the food on the menu is available. All the drinks from the bar are available. All the beers are available. So Academia Brewing Company, one of the greatest breweries in the state of Georgia. Their beer sold all over the state. You need to check them out. But it's also one of the best restaurants. And they always have something fun going on, like the paint and sip or the beer and biscuit brunch or the car shows or the trivia shows, trivia contest. There's always something fun going on over there. So get by Academia Brewing Company when you get a chance. If you're not in Athens, though, and you're like, hey, I'd also like to see one of your other sponsors. I'd like to support people who support you. Check out our friends at Your Pie. Today is Tuesday. If you jump on the Your Pie app, it's a very simple app, and you order the peach and prosciutto pizza or the great white or the nat or the ishka or the salads or the breadsticks or the drinks or the gelato or the brownie or the sandwiches or the custom pastas, you get points for every dollar you spend. But on Tuesdays, you get double the points. You don't have to get it today. You can order it today for tomorrow. So if you're already eating lunch and you're watching a show, you're like, dude, it's 12:30. I've already eaten. Order tomorrow's lunch. Tell me you're going to pick it up tomorrow at noon. But order it today. That's how you game the system. There's 70 plus locations of Your Pies all over the place. Find one close to you and get them to deliver or swing by, and you'll be happy that you did.
Coach, I have some team specific questions, but before I get to that, I do want to get to one Olympics related question for you, because I remember doing this 4 years ago with you, of the first time that you were in Athens as the coach. It was all the build up to the summer games in Atlanta in '96. We know that the hedges had to be pulled out of the stadium, and I remember you telling some of that story. And if you want to retell that, fine. But I'm curious your memories of '96 Olympics, also with what that meant for your family coming to Georgia at that time.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, watching Michael Johnson win a 400, going over to the opening deals. Billy Payne was so nice to me. He's always been, but to have the guy that's brought the Olympics to Atlanta, kind of VIP over there. And one thing funny that was unbelievable up there in the VIP section, all these foreign guys having these young women with them. And one guy said, hey, they got their daughters with them, but I don't think they were their daughters, but some really good looking women there with these other guys. But I always remember that. But, and then certainly watching Olympic soccer over here and some other venues. But, I took a lot of pride in being the Georgia coach, but to be introduced to people around there and being the new Georgia coach was kind of a kickoff for me. And I knew when I got the job how important it was to people, but just gave you a sense of pride that these people associated you with being the Georgia coach. So it was great. So and I wanted to do one shout out here about we have different people listen and watch our show, and people come up all the time and say, hey, they enjoy it. But I met Colton Heinrich's family over here during one of the camps last week, and just a tremendous young man. And both his mom and dad are up here visiting, and then they were going over to Greenville, I think, to see their other son. But he was mentioning to me how much he looks forward to the show every week, and we'll certainly cover his son, and who really looks good, kind of streamlined himself and has done a good job in the weight program. But shout out to the Heinrich family, and proud to have them here and glad they watch our show. And if any other parents watch it, type in there and say you do, and we'll give a good shout out about your family too. But this is a Georgia, like everybody needs to know, this is Roddy's a lot more objective than I am, and certainly Dane too. But I'm a homer. I'm a Georgia homer, and I'll point out a few things that aren't right. But there's so many good things about the program, and we hope we can give as much insight as we can without giving away any tactical knowledge. But just makes me feel good to see parents like that and see the interaction they had right then with Coach Hartley. I mean, you could just see Coach Hartley coming over to him, and it's a lifelong association there. When you think about Ms. Bowers and her husband and how I got to know them and followed them the whole time, and Malachi Starks, all these kids. I mean, you see them as freshmen and then see them grow on. That's one of the things, me, without my wife being here, being able to go over there occasionally and just be around these kids just makes you feel good.
All right, let me get to some fall camp storylines here. You are a quarterback coach. That is what you have been known for most of your career. When you have a Carson Beck, you always want a talented quarterback, but it can be hard to manage that. It's a different task than if you have an open competition. What would you do as a quarterback coach to help him succeed at the highest level possible this year?
Well, the first thing you always talk to them about is, we're really glad to have you, and I want to be able to do what you want and feel good about. I'm certainly the coach, but let's work a package around your best feelings about what you like the best, and then take it from there. The next thing is, take what they give you. Now you have so much experience, and remember that. Take what they give. You have so much experience and so much knowledge, and we've worked so hard against our defense that sometimes you look for things that aren't there. It's so obvious that you're trying to say, it can't be this good. Something's got to be wrong. Hey, take the obvious, estimate the defensive intent, and don't worry about what might happen. Just go ahead and attack. And we saw that consistently from Carson last year. So once you get to a level where you're so good and kind of on cruise control, you got to be careful about looking for things just to look for it. So I would say those two things in particular: do what he does best, and then take what they give you.
You have the starting quarterback back, but you're breaking in a new starting center. And Cedric Van Pran was a great leader for Georgia's offense for a while. Is it overhyped what centers do and called out at the line of scrimmage? Or are they truly one of the play callers up there too?
Yeah, I don't think you can underestimate the value of a good center. I mean, you look at any good team, baseball down the middle, pitcher, second base, shortstop, center fielder, football, center, quarterback, tailback. It all starts in the middle and then branches out. But there's nothing routine about a quarterback center exchange, even though everybody thinks, hey, you just snap the ball up and you take it, or you snap it in the gun and you take it. You got to practice that. And, consistently over the years, Van Pran was unbelievable. I think he had maybe one bad snap, and that might have been because the quarterback wasn't looking. But so that's one thing, and you don't want to be going to the line. And you watch these little kids, or you watch these junior high players, and they go up to the line, they got their head down looking for the snap. There's nothing you can do to take the ball from the guy by looking at his butt. Look at the defense. It's got to be an instinctive thing. I know it looks stupid, but I used to get down on my knees between the quarterback and the center and look where the ball's being placed to get the snap and get the laces where you want them. So sometimes he's shortchanged a little bit. Sometimes he's stepping. Most fumbles occur when a center is protecting the guard pulling, and he's pulling this way, and the quarterback's riding him up. You got to know what there, but I think this kid is among the better athletes on our team. I'm talking about if he went 1 through 20, he can really run. He's flexible, got good intelligence, power, explosion, and probably nothing against Ed, but probably he doesn't have the experience. But I think the fact that Drew Bobo's been here and knows the system is definitely a question mark because of the lack of playing time. But he's had all that practice against our defense, and he's a valuable commodity. I promise you that. He's a pro player. There's no question this guy can play in the pros, and he's going to be a valuable player for us.
We need to clip that right there because when he gets drafted, we can go back and say, Coach, before he ever started a game, called him a pro player.
Until next to the draft because I don't want Kirby jumping my ass on that.
You had mentioned Gunnar Stockton's growth. Quiet at the summer, may have forgotten. Jaden Rashada's in the mix here, backup quarterback at Georgia.
I think the biggest key for Jaden is going to be this knowledge of the system. And, I think it is certainly an issue here, not so much the system itself that we utilize, but all the other stuff that we do to help our defense. I mentioned this before, and I won't say it again until next year, but Kirby wants to give everything to the defense all fall camp that they're going to see during the season. So we run an program offensively for a game plan, but a young quarterback, you got to learn the basic Georgia system, but you also got to and help our defense. So I think that's going to be the main issue for him is picking up all of that. He'll be okay down the road, but the first thing they always say, hey, is it's going to take a little while, but Bateman broke his leg against man in 4 days. I'm talking about. Now we had some carryover from previous years, but I'm the national championship, so systems sometimes are overrated. You just got to be able to do
what Kirby did. You roll out with the best players, and you don't have to have something overly complicated when you're giving it to a Darnell Washington or a Brock Bowers. It's like, okay, we're going to win this game. I want to touch on something that we mentioned the last time you were on, and something you just said earlier in today's show. You said that the jump that Gunnar Stockton made has been huge, and that here he didn't look that good, but now he's like considered maybe the best quarterback in the nation right now, definitely leading the Heisman preseason candidacy. Who had the bigger jump?
I don't know yet because I haven't seen Gunnar go against live.
Fair. That's fair.
This fall. I'm just saying from where he was when he got here, he played in a system where they just looked like they almost drew the plays up in the dirt. It snapped the ball to Gunnar and ad-lib it from there. And we got a system here that, you have to be some structure, but I do feel like that and I brag about it, but this is the reality here. Amarius Mims gets whatever kind of contract he just signed and only started 8 games. And the reason he got that, certainly God-given ability, physical talent, all that, but all the tape he had in practice against our defense, that doesn't lie. It shows you exactly what he's able to do. Same thing with Gunnar. He's run against our defense for 2 years as a scout team quarterback and sometimes going down there when he wasn't a scout team. So it's kind of a survival type deal. I know when I was early quarterback at NC State, every week I was a different quarterback. One week I was Joe Namath. One week I was Swikert at Virginia Tech. Some guy from Iowa, whoever it might be. But you learn to watch their systems and see some of the things they did, and you had to emulate that in practice. And that helps your overall body of work in the fact that you're just not Gunner Stockton. You're being Jackson Dart. You're being whoever Young at Alabama. But you see what these systems are, and it helps you. And Gunner, being a coach's son, he's a gal. I mean, he's just a sponge for learning stuff. So he's got that kind of like Jake Fromm mentality of very cerebral as far as picking things up. The other thing about it, the guy played defensive back some in college and high school, and he's one of the guys. I mean, if they had a scrum out there and playing rugby, he'd be jumping in there right in the pile, and the kids respect that. They really like the fact that he's one of the guys.
Well, Coach, I mainly wanted to drill in on that because you don't have to look far in college football, and especially now with expanded playoffs, with a tougher schedule, with the SEC getting a bit tougher, you better be confident in your backup quarterback. Florida State last year, the second that Jordan Travis gets hurt, their whole season unravels at that point. You can go back to even Texas in a national championship game with Colt McCoy. It just wasn't as good after he went down. And there's multiple examples that you better be confident your backup quarterback can win you games.
Yeah, usually you don't have a guy that can come in there that's the same, even close to the first guy. But, you know, you had Jalen Hurts and Tua and some of that situation. But you always have a what-if plan in every game. If for some reason we're not moving the ball like we thought we might, then what are we going to go to? Or if we can't stop them on defense, what's our first pressure? Well, all that stuff are alternative things. Same thing with a backup quarterback. You got to play around your defense, play around your kicking game, and make sure the guy doesn't lose the game. By that, he doesn't have to go in there and be a hero and do all these things to beat the other team, but just don't beat yourself. But again, going against our team in practice is one of the best equalizer you can have, because you're not going to see any better competition against some of these other teams.
Dane, you don't have to go back all the way to Texas. You can go back to Georgia versus Arkansas with Dwayne Mathis under center.
Dwayne Mathis, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Dwayne Mathis. You know, I didn't know at that time. I didn't know the coordinator that well, like I do some of these guys. But a couple of scrimmages, after the scrimmage, I said, "Hey, you should at least put Stetson in there." I said, "You got no idea how good this guy is." He said, "Well, we just got to work." And, you know, we had the kid from Wake Forest and, you know, and all that situation. So I don't know if that was the first year or second, but finally I can remember Stetson in the red pants taking that ball outside and putting it across the goal line against Arkansas. That was unbelievable.
Hey, coming in with 0 first team reps all week long, cold as ice. And hey, he was ready. So you're right, Dwayne Dane. Sometimes you have to have a guy, a backup guy. That's why we were talking earlier. I was thinking you lose a starter transfers to Kentucky in your inside linebacker group, but you replace him with a guy that's maybe better, you know, and then you got two guys behind them that are ridiculously good. And we still haven't seen the, you know, Ra Thomas could be kicked off the team. Would not shock me, but does that open up more reps for Dylan Bell or Arian Smith or
Colby Young?
Colby Young? I'm like, as Coach said, you got to be yours. You got to be us with yours. And we're deeper than you are. And in some places, you're a little inexperienced, but Kirby makes sure they get experience in those practices. Pretty good. Dane, I know you have some more topics you want to touch on, but first I want to mention our friends over at Athens Ford, mainly because we're in the next last day of July. So if you were trying to get in on those July specials out at Athens Ford, if you want the $5,000 off a 2024 Ford Bronco, all models, the Bronco Sport, you need to go out there quickly today or tomorrow. If you want $7,000 off the 2024 Ford Explorer, go out there now. If you want to get the 2024 Ford Escape for basically $27,000, which is a ridiculous deal on the Ford Escape, go out there now. If you want to get the 2024 Ford Edge SE for $34,000, and again, great deal, go out there now. Also on that Ford Edge, you can, if you don't want to do that price, you can get 0.9% APR financing for 60 months for qualified buyers. And of course, all their vehicles, all their new ones come with a lifetime powertrain warranty, which you do not get everywhere. So that is very important that you only go to Athens Ford. Don't go to anywhere else because they will not have that lifetime powertrain warranty. You have to go there.
I'm going to interrupt you here, and I'm going to start the My Perfect Franchise story here because I had a member of the event reach out to me directly and say, I called Andy Ledecky and had a conversation with him, was blown away with his expertise in this field. And I really think that's a shot that's going to help me in my business world, my entrepreneurship. Andy Ledecky gave me a lot of great ideas. So and that's Guitar Dog and the Dog Vent made this happen. So My Perfect Franchise, Andy Ledecky, Roddy, rave reviews are coming.
Yeah, I mean he will not be alone, and folks of members of the dog vent community, members of UGA Sports, who now have new businesses, and they didn't have to pay Andy a dime. So if you want to be your own business, if I ever decide to hang up my shield here, hang up my placard, and take it down, call Andy and go, hey, I need a different job. So that's our guy. We appreciate his sponsorship of UGAsports.com.
I want to be sure we get to questions here, but the final point I kind of wanted to make on schedule, because everyone talks about Texas and Alabama. Remember last year for Georgia that it was South Carolina and Auburn, and really even early in the Georgia Tech game where just Georgia wasn't clicking as well, especially on offense. So we can look at the schedule and we can do the ESPN thing and get enamored with whatever would draw College Game Day to wherever it is. It's a tough schedule beyond those things. Don't think Georgia's going to walk up into Kentucky and dominate that and be ahead by 35 points at halftime. It's not going to work that way. They have good football players too. So I'm looking on the schedule for where are those games? Where's the first half against South Carolina that Georgia has to overcome kind of a poor performance and bring it out in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, every game's its own game in itself, and situations happen that how you react to them and what you're able to do as a team when you have adversity, injuries, block kicks, whatever it might be. But we do a great job of getting ready and preparing our team for the whole season, and are able to show the poise and it's necessary to make the comebacks. But the one thing you're going to get everybody's best shot against Georgia. I mean, they're going to play. They're going to take more chances. They realize they're outmanned most of the time and come up with good ideas. So it's just hard to, project who that's going to be. But certainly opening up against Clemson, who has some good athletes, and then going up there after Tennessee Tech and playing Kentucky. I mean,
week 3, Kentucky.
And, Brock Vandergrift's going to have a working knowledge of our defense and going to come after us with his skill set. So, and who knows what will happen there. But and then Alabama, with first 2 conference games on the road.
This question from Dogs Rolling Loud. Coach, do you think Jordan Hall will be up and ready and full sped for Clemson? I know you had texted me and said, did you see what Roddy put on the dog vent about Jordan Hall? I was like, yeah, I saw what he posted.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had access to being over there. Last week, I had a young man come in for a camp from South Florida that I knew through a friend of mine in Burlington. And so I went over there to watch him throw. And that's the first time I've been around the team at all. But I think optimistically he could be ready. But, you got to bring him along slow when you got that kind of situation. So remains to be seen. So just glad he got it repaired.
This question from Uncle Sam on YouTube. Do you think Kirby Smart will have a lighter practice schedule for the older seniors, Ratledge, Brinson, Stackhouse, and etc., to retain some stamina that will be needed for what is hopefully a very long season?
Capital N, capital O. He's not going to take any slack in anybody. And that's not being smart to Uncle Sam. It's just the fact that I don't care if you've been around forever or you've been here the first day. He's going to ride you hard and get you ready, and everybody knows it. But sometimes at the end of the year, like bowl prep, if you're not playing for a national championship, you let the seniors go in early and work the other guys. But we don't know how to take the gap. We don't slack up at all here.
I can see what Uncle Sam's asking, because I would kind of think the same thing. It's like, you guys know what you're doing. We got these other guys that we need to bring along. Let them get extra reps, put those guys into the grill. I get it. I mean, he asked a great question, because my instinct would have been to go with what Uncle Sam says, but Coach says,
yeah, I'm going to give Uncle Sam some credit. Most places that would be true, okay, but most places don't do the reps like we do. So let's just say the first team offense is going out there and running 8 plays, and then the second team defense maybe runs 6. Threes don't do anything except scout team. Our team, everybody gets the same amount of reps. I don't care if you're first, second, third. And it takes away a little bit sometime from your so in its own way, you might be slacking off on the first team because they're not out there. But usually speaking, when they're not out there, they got them on the sideline doing something, whether it's up downs or running extra sprints or something. There's not a lot of standing around there. The defensive line, sometimes when the first team D line is not on the field, they'll be down in the end zone running gassers. So they're doing conditioning, or when the kicking's going, they'll be doing it. So, but our reps are so magnified compared to other places that it's just hard to see that there's any slack off there.
If anything, wouldn't that happen closer to December, Coach, when you get toward the playoff stretch? Maybe you change some of the reps and how you practice at that point?
Yeah, I would say most places, but hey, not here. There's, I mean, when you go out there between those lines here, it's 100 miles an hour. And, I think maybe sometimes the amount of practice might be cut back a little bit as far as the start to finish, but the intensity level is unmatched.
One thing Dogs Rolling Out Loud is asking about is Andrew Thacker, who Jed May on UGASports yesterday in the Vault mentioned that the former Georgia Tech defensive coach is an analyst at Georgia now. Coach, what do you know about Thacker? What does it mean for Georgia, just having another set of eyes in there in the defense?
Yeah, I didn't realize that was happening until Roddy or somebody told me. Usually Roddy's on top of that stuff, but analysts are really important to the program because they give you an extra set of eyes and ears to look at not only your opponent, but self-scout yourself. And when you got a guy coming in from another team that plays you, like T-Rob at Alabama, I could see Mike Bobo going through the Alabama game, watching the tape with him, say, hey, what were you thinking here? Why did you do this? And you're looking at it. Same thing with this young man coming from Georgia Tech. He's going to be working with the linebackers, helping Coach Schumann. The guy that was with the linebackers was hired by Fran Brown up at Syracuse to be in a role there. So, but the one good thing about the analysts, that for some of the fans that don't read everything like most of you do, there's a new rule now. There used to be the only guys that could actually coach on the field were the 10 designated coaches that can recruit and coach on the field, 2 graduate assistants, and then some students, 2 on the offense, 2 on and some student assistants. So if let's just say I'm the quarterback coach, and Dane, you're an offensive analyst, and Roddy, you're a defensive analyst. The only thing you can do at practice is watch practice, and after it, look at the tape and grade it and everything. Now, if you're an offensive analyst and you've been helping Stacy Searles with the line, they passed a rule where you can actually go on the field and be an assistant coach there. So I don't think we have time to add anybody as far as a full-time analyst, but I could see that happening next year, maybe a couple more analysts that can help maybe with special teams on the field or coaching to the point where it's really going to be big is a guy like Kirk Benedict, who's helps with our special teams. We had a special teams coach who unfortunately had to stop coaching here, but he was one of the 10. But now we haven't used one of the 10 for special teams. So Kurt would get everybody ready and scout them and do all that, but the assistant coaches had to handle the on the field. Now Kurt and Adam Ray and Javier King. All these analysts can go out on it and help on the special teams, get them lined up, run the stuff, and I think it's going to really add to the efficiency of practice myself.
So
Did
you're
you know?
basically saying Billy Napier will be a full-time offensive analyst next year at Georgia.
He could be, but
Well, you know where my brain went to with Thacker was, and this is projecting it could end up being totally wrong. I know that Glenn Schumann's going to be a head coach one day. He's going to be at the top of a lot of lists here. Georgia just brought in a guy that's been a defense coordinator for 5 years at 2 schools between Georgia Tech and Temple. He's from Cartersville. He wants to be in the state of Georgia. He's been at UCF, Oklahoma State, Southern Miss, the Atlanta Falcons, UCF again, Kennesaw State, Temple, Georgia Tech, and now Georgia. And he's not even 40 years old yet. Keep that roster deep.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Kirby moving guys up from within. That's something you can always look at. But you can also say, if you're looking for a job, hey, I've been right there with Georgia. I know the ins and outs of it. And people, you look at all the guys that we get put out there that are in auxiliary roles here. A guy that was a defensive analyst in the secondary is a secondary coach at Oklahoma now. One's at East Carolina. I mean, they're all around the country, because if Kirby will bring you in here, it's like a golden parachute to land somewhere from here. I'm just telling you, because you're looking at who's doing the stuff right. I mean, that's the way it happens.
Right. It was that way under Saban. If you worked on Saban's staff, it was like a golden ticket to go somewhere else. It was good, look good on your resume. And sports journalism, if you can work for ESPN, when you leave, they're like, oh, this is the ESPN guy. Or if you're a print journalist, you work for the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, it's like, wow, they made it to the top. So if you come and work for Kirby, even if it's dumping trash cans, somebody else is going to give you a chance to move up.
And talking about dumping trash cans, that's a big deal there. You got to be careful. There's not any stuff in the trash can, that game plans, practice schedules, stuff like that. So they look at that and make sure.
I got a hold of a scouting report one time that way. So
yeah, you got to be careful about your dumping.
I'll publish that after Kirby leaves. Whenever he retires, I'll publish that.
What was that? Notre Dame scouting?
Notre Dame scouting report, man. I like this question we got from Foster Moss. Coach, Georgia signed a Jazir Jackson, 6'10", 6'11", 330-pound basketball player. Didn't play last year. He was prepping for the NBA draft, didn't get drafted. Went to a bunch of football camps all over the country. Got everywhere he went, he was offered. Kid can move. Do you see Georgia signs him? He's in the class of 2024. He's not next year's class. He's already part of the Georgia roster. Do you see him get any reps this year?
Game reps, that'd be hard. Practice, you get a lot. But I think the main thing with the ear is once you get this close to the signing date, you got that extra 1 or 2 scholarships. You maybe look at maybe taking a transfer guy or somebody you expect to develop. And certainly he's got all the tools of being a big-time player, just because the way he can run, jump. I talked to one of the managers over there, said the equipment manager said they've never had a guy his size having to equip him, putting all the different kind of things you got to put, when you look at a jersey with a guy that long arms like that, pants, shoes, everything. So, but I just don't think that you can necessarily say he can't play just because he's never played. Randy McMichael played very little in high school, but I watched him play basketball and I saw his skill set. So everybody's, if you look back at Gil Brandt when he was the guru for Tom Landry at the Cowboys, he was a scouting director, and he would go to all these smaller schools and pick up these guys that were really good athletes, like Too Tall Jones, people like that and brought them in to try them out, and the Cowboys made a living off those guys. Hayes was a great track star, and he unbelievable as a wide receiver. So you could go on and on about that. So I'm just telling you, we're not giving out scholarships just for you'd be going somewhere else.
True. Georgia, go back and look at Brett Thorson. They took a kid, punter out of Australia, and they took yesterday. They got a commit from J.J. Haney, a German-born kid who's played his first year of football last year out in California. He just committed to the Bulldogs.
Now, how did he get from Germany to California?
There was a guy out there. He's kind of a facilitator would be the word. They reached out. The guy I went to see in Brazil.
Is he gonna come in January?
I don't know. I need to check with him if he's going to be early enrollee. I always wonder about the academic side of it.
Well,
the guy I went to see did the same thing like soccer, tennis. He helps kids in Brazil get into universities throughout throughout the nation, because there's good players down there, and they just they want to play in American universities. They want to go D1.
You see all these guys coming in there from Canada, from overseas, and that kid's coming from Germany. I'm going to ask him if he knows the German word for Brazil. Also from flopping.
I knew it was coming.
I hadn't told him.
Coach is back, baby. Coach is back.
That's all the questions that I have, Roddy. I don't know if you want to sneak any more in here before we wrap.
We had one more question here that from Facebook. I need to find it real quick. I thought it was good. Michael MC says, guys, I need an excuse to get out of a fall wedding. Any suggestions?
You see the ones getting married?
No, I think he didn't say. He said to get out of a wedding. I'm assuming he's been invited.
He could do like the guy that was going to have a blind date, and he wasn't sure with the girl what to do if she didn't look good or he didn't like her, and his buddy said, hey, just when you go to the door, if she doesn't look good, just kind of start coughing and rub your hands and say, I'm having an asthma attack. And so the guy went to the door, and the beautiful lady came up there and answered the door, and then she looked at him and went, I'm having an asthma attack. Well, he could fake an asthma attack.
Might I suggest the ceremony at a tailgate?
I covered one of those in my book. The book I did with Jeff Tansler. I did a photo book, and he wrote up Saturdays Between the Hedges. Look it up on Google. Years and years ago, one of the first things I got walking around campus and taking pictures of the tailgate stuff was an actual wedding ceremony over by the Ag building. So
Really?
They got married and then went to a game. It's nuts.
I promise you it'll be a better party than whatever wedding party would be.
Hey, I'm telling everyone's got an excuse now. You got COVID, dude.
Yeah, I've been to some of these weddings in the fall sometime, and these guys got their phones out and everything. It's unbelievable, man. You can't do that during the church, but the guy's got a phone down there between his legs watching the game. I mean, unreal.
I'm a little bit guilty of this because I got married on New Year's Eve, and it was during the college football playoff era where the semifinals were that night. And my mother-in-law is an Alabama fan, and she missed the Alabama semifinal for our wedding. So,
well, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, love it. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for this week's show. We will hopefully be back next Tuesday at noon to talk Georgia practice. They start in 48 hours. There'll be practices. Hopefully we'll get to see some of it, but we'll definitely talk to Kirby Smart on Thursday and some players, and maybe Saturday and Sunday, ideally Monday. So next week we will be talking Georgia. I'll probably be talking the first day of pads, because I guess Thursday they'll start that acclimation process, and hopefully by Tuesday we'll be talking full padded practice. So be sure to join us next Tuesday at noon on this Facebook channel and this YouTube channel. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.